Hello, everybody. So, yeah, as we've said, I'm Hitesh Bhatt. I run Ultraviolet Strategy. Small plug, but we're a small consultancy that works with content owners, broadcasters, and tech companies to help them navigate the worlds of advanced TV and digital. We have a fantastic panel here today. We're going to be exploring how TV advertising works for digital-first brands. I'll set the scene a little bit. So, I mean, clearly, digital-first brands are now forming the backbone of TV spend in the UK. I think Les mentioned earlier on, Amazon was like the second biggest spender on TV last Christmas. If you look at ITV's flagship entertainment shows, they're pretty much all sponsored by digital-first brands, whether that's Uber Eats sponsoring Love Island or Just Eat sponsoring X Factor. And this will continue to grow. I think as more and more digital-first brands start disrupting traditional businesses that they're going to continue to spend on television. Seems to be the reasons why are varied. Could be around just delivering more reach, more awareness, delivering short-term sales, or just brand fame and credibility. Let's explore this a bit more with our fantastic panel. Before we go into it, just if we could ask the panel, maybe starting with Kate, to introduce yourselves.
Hello everyone, I'm Kate Waters. I'm the Director of Client Strategy and Planning at ITV. So I've been in the business for about 9 months now, and my remit is to work with all of our advertisers to help them, we'll make sure that they get more from their sort of investment. So my team works across a whole different suite of sort of activities, but we're doing a lot of work with digital native brands at the moment.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Elena Galli, and I'm brand director at lastminute.com. I've been working for digital first brand in the last 10 years, and now for lastminute.com, I'm taking care of the creative strategy and offline media planning, so TV and out of home, for different countries in Europe, so mainly UK, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain.
Hi everyone, I'm Fahmeeda Cassim Surtee. I'm the CEO for a business called DStv Media Sales. So the way I like to explain this is like we're the sky of Africa. We beam our content, we're a content as well as platform provider to over 49 countries across the sub-Saharan African continent.
Good to have you.
Cool.
Hi everyone, I'm Paula Bacariza. I'm commercial director at Xandr. Xandr is the advertising arm of AT&T after the acquisition of Warner Media and AppNexus at the end of last year. And what my team does is any brand, agency, holdco, or trading desk that comes and works with Xandr in Northern Europe comes to our team.
Hi, I'm Martin O'Boyle, and I'm Managing Director at Publicis Media Exchange, which is the trading and investment arm of Publicis Media. And my main focus is working with our broadcast partners and our video partners in driving what we call advanced TV, so greater capability in television, so we can provide better and stronger solutions for our clients.
Thank you, guys. Right, so the first thing I wanted to ask you was, what do digital-first brands see in TV? How do they use it? And is there anything more that they require from TV companies, media owners, to invest more into this medium? Elena, as the digital-first brand on this panel, let me ask you that question.
The only one.
Yeah, so digital-first brand, I love TV. So TV is a very powerful media for different reasons. So it gets you access to a mass reach. You have full control of the context in which your message is delivered. And also the message is delivered at the best, because you have in a big screen, you have sound on, you don't scroll, people don't scroll, skip. So I think it's the perfect environment to deliver your message. There is nothing in this moment as TV that can deliver the messages in this way. Mm-hmm. What is struggling, so the issue that the digital first or brands that do TV, especially in different countries, is the complexity. So TV is not easy. I think I'm not saying nothing new. It's complex for different reasons. So the formats, the regulation, the way you buy it, everything is different in each country. And also the transparency in prices and transparency in the audience. So which is the audience, which is the real audience, who is going to get actually my message. So I think there are positive and bad side of TV, but overall it's one of the most impactful media that brands have.
Where does it sit in your marketing mix? Is there, traditionally, I guess digital-first brands have, often used social and search initially, and then moved into TV. How does TV sit within your mix?
It depends on the market and different markets. So every market is different, and every market also the TV opportunities are different. So we have markets in which we invest lightly on TV, market in which we are digital first. So I think it really depends. There is not a fixed rule that we apply to all the market, and it depends also on the product, on the maturity of the market. So in different phases, we use different media mix.
Okay, thanks. Martin, obviously you have a number of digital first brands within the Publicis portfolio. You know, how do they use it? What are they asking for that perhaps it isn't available right now?
Well, I think what we've got to remember with a lot of digital first brands is that they've been obviously brought up in digital and utilising the capabilities within paid social, within search, and those capabilities are far more advanced really in terms of targeting than what we're traditionally used to within the television arena. And so they push us to try and get those sorts of capabilities in our TV buying as well, but they at the same time do recognise that TV is a great driver of awareness, particularly when they get to a certain scale, that paid social and search don't really give enough to really build their brand there. So it feels that it's vital for them to actually get onto TV, but they expect a lot more from their TV buy than arguably a more traditional advertiser has done. And what we're seeing, I think, is quite a lot of huge moves in the market recently, because we've got ITV with Kate and Planet V launching, which should be exciting. These are moves to create that capability. Obviously, Sky AdSmart entered the market quite a few years ago with a view to try and sort of get on top of all of this and actually try to offer the digital capabilities that brands just really are looking for within this. And I think the reality has been quite difficult in the UK market to actually deliver what's needed within TV for digital first brands because of mainly structural issues. And you know, it's quite a risk if you're a big broadcaster to try and move eyeballs away from something where you're actually guaranteed a certain amount of money to something which is a little bit more risky. And I think we're also a bit hampered by regulation as well. So we've seen sort of 10 years ago, ITV and BBC trying to launch Project Kangaroo, and it didn't happen because it was blocked by the government, and now it's come out 10 years later. It feels like a real shame because actually, you know, in that time, a lot of the thunder's been stolen by the likes of Netflix and the likes of Amazon Prime, and it feels like it feels that they may be coming to the party a bit too late, but they weren't allowed to join that party in the first instance. So I've sort of skirted around the issue here, but I think the reality is that it's quite positive that we're getting, that our broadcast partners are really making the moves and really making big leaps and bounds into this area. Reality is we need more, and we need more quickly, and as an agency we'll always ask for more, and we'll always ask for more quickly because that's what our clients are pushing us to do as well.
Okay, Kate, I think that leads to you as a broadcast partner. I mean, you've made hay from digital first brands with a lot of spend and a lot of sponsorship. What are you seeing them doing?
So I think the first thing to say is a lot of digital native brands come to TV and expect it to work exactly like they expect exactly like AdWords and exactly like paid social, but just on a kind of bigger scale. So I think that, I mean, it's incumbent upon us as an industry, and indeed on our media agency partners, I think, and creative agency partners, to do a little bit of an education job around how TV works and the different ways in which it works. So yes, absolutely, TV can drive short-term response. We all know that. TV can also build brands in the long term. But I think actually what a lot of people come to it expecting is that they're just going to harvest demand, you know, efficiently in the way that they do through those other channels. And frankly, if that's all you use TV for, then you're not using it to its greatest effect. So whilst on the one hand, yes, we are absolutely trying to develop the kind of addressability of TV and those kind of more sophisticated ways to target through things like Planet V, I will always spend some time talking to people not just about sort of mass reach of linear TV, but mass simultaneous reach, which I think kind of gets wrapped up in this phrase that people too often sort of just accept without really thinking about. Because the magic really happens for brands, whether they're digital first brands or whether they are, you know, sort of the legacy brands, if you like, of yesterday. The magic really happens when you get large audiences watching at the same time. That's what drives fame, that's what drives talkability, that's what puts brands at the heart of culture. And actually, when we talk to some of the digital native brands that have become some of our biggest advertisers, so you kind of mentioned Just Eat and Amazon, you know, as examples, there are plenty of others. You know, actually what they want is to put their brands at the heart of popular culture, and to do that, you have to use a combination of linear TV and also of addressable TV if you want to kind of wrap the smart targeting around the edges. And we also, I think, have a duty to really understand better the kind of the ways in which different channels work together. So one of the things that a lot of our slightly younger and I guess more nascent sort of digital first brands see is when they go on TV for the first time, it's not just about an immediate uplift in response, it's also about what happens across their other channels. So we've got actually kind of growing really good evidence base of the impact for TV on, for example, page search and page social. So we see huge kind of uplift across those channels. And also actually often a kind of decline in cost per response or cost per acquisition as well. So I think TV has this kind of brilliant multiplier effect, and when we try and boil it down to immediate short-term impact and attribution, you kind of miss the bigger picture and you miss the power of the medium to kind of really convey and build that brand and build that business.
Thank you very much. Fahmeeda, I mean, great to have you over here. And it's probably fair to say that, myself and maybe the audience are not that familiar with the African market.
Yeah.
What's your take on this question?
I think that we're already starting to see across Africa that the shifts in what we call traditional television advertisers is moving largely towards these digital native companies. And we've had some huge success stories, actually, in territories like Nigeria, where we had a digital first business come on board that was selling cars, and they just sponsored a task within a big format like Big Brother, and they were able to sell 99 cars from that. So it's, we have like kind of huge success stories that sit in the sports betting space as well, which have always largely been digital first businesses, or even in the insurance direct response, sort of short-term insurance purchases, etc. So we're seeing a lot more of that sort of clientele that are coming through, that are becoming really top spenders across the platform, because they're starting to leverage and see that TV actually says to their brands, I have arrived. So, yeah.
And is there anything they're asking for you that other brands are not asking about?
So, yeah, they absolutely are, because they've lived in a different world prior to this. So they're asking for different kinds of, pricing models. They're looking at more addressability. They want TV to act more like digital players. They're also looking at joint venture opportunities where they could come to us to say, we'll put up a product or service, etc. And whatever it is that we do together, we could share in the revenue. So rev share models are becoming a thing of conversation, as well as cost per lead type models that sit in that space, which traditionally for television in Africa has always been a complete no-no.
Yeah, I think that's the case here as well.
Yeah, we're beginning to do a little bit of that as well.
Yeah.
And Paula, I mean, I guess when Xandr looks at TV, they're looking at TV in all its forms and across all the different screens. How do you address this question?
So I think if we go back to the why the brands, digital first or not, like TV is because of the reach that TV can give you. And it's still an incredibly engaging platform. And actually, it would be very rare to find an audience that you cannot reach through TV, while there are plenty of audiences that you cannot reach through other media. So that's what attracts the brands, and that's where the focus should be, and the beauty of that reach and that very, very high engaging platform. What we see is that these brands are coming from a world where digital and social is more and more fragmented every day. And as it gets more and more fragmented, TV gets added to the mix, and the focus should be on having a cross-medium strategy of looking across digital and TV and mobile as a combined strategy, instead of siloing more and more the mediums and the strategies, because they're convergent. Digital and TV are convergent, and we should embrace that and make the most of it. Also, there are brands that still see TV as premium, as viewable, and as safe, although we all know that connected TV is starting to have a serious fraud issue, and my hope is that we've learned our lesson from the digital world and we move faster and better and more efficient than we did in the digital world because we weren't prepared for what was coming. Now we know what happens and we know that they move fast. So hopefully this time round where we're talking is about TV, we just solve the issue.
Okay, so the brands that grew up in the online space, they tend to be more performance-led, performance-driven. We've talked about the fact that TV is about reach, about fame and so on. Do you think that when they are using it, are they using it to deliver short-term sales? And if so, how are they measuring it? How are they measuring attribution? Elena, I'm going to ask you this one.
This is the question that I always got. So from my SEO, so if I got your budget for TV, what is the return? How can you measure the impact of your investment in TV? And I think on this, I agree with what Katie was saying before. So we should not just compare it with performance channels. So if you just compare with just short-term performance, this is not the way it works. This is not why in the way that you can prove that it works. I think TV is extremely helpful to solve the biggest problem or the main problem of online first brand, that is getting free traffic. So all digital brands have to buy the traffic that they get, and they buy most of it. So there are websites that buy 100% of traffic, 90%. So if you just buy 50%, you are very, very lucky. Not a lot of brands can have this huge chunk of free traffic. So this is where I think TV can have the best impact, because with performance channel, you can grow faster. And it's the perfect way if you want to grow fast your business at the beginning. But then you are arriving to a point in which growing more is not possible because the return, the ROI is diminishing. At the end, you run campaign ROI negative. So in this case, if you want to grow more, you have to grow more your base. You have to grow more the people that comes more directly to your website. And in this, performance channel cannot help. So this is where TV helps and should go together with performance. So I think if you want to go fast, you go performance. If you want to go far, you go with branding. Because branding is the medium that can help really a brand going far. So not just relying on the performance, on the short terms, but delivering short-term measure, because we measure the amount of people that comes directly on our website, not just the 5 minutes before the spot, but in a longer terms. And this is work. So we see at the end of the year, at the end of the quarter, how our direct traffic increased. And this is the things that digital brands care the most. And this is the value of a digital brand.
How are you attributing that traffic increase to TV? What techniques or methodologies or partners are you working with to do that?
So we work with different methods, so also different tools, but at the end it's a baseline. So we have a baseline of traffic that we calculated based on the historical data, and we see the increase on it. So at the end you can make it very difficult. So there are a lot of tools that can make it very, very difficult to calculate, but at the end you can make it also very, very simple. So you see how much direct traffic, brand traffic you get, so from brand keywords, direct traffic. And you see that at the end is increase or diminish. And at the end, this is a very simple measure that also high executive can understand better and can believe the effect of the brand. Because if you make it too complicated, maybe they say, what you're trying to prove. But sometimes it's very easy. So it's brand traffic, people coming directly to your website or through brand keywords.
Okay, question for the broadcasters. So Kate or Fahmeeda, take your turn. With the brands that you're working with, there's a lot of things around sponsorship and so on, which is typically higher brand type stuff. Are they then giving you questions around how this is going to perform? We will respend if this performs, and we'll measure it on sales and so on.
Of course they are. I wish they were not. Of course they are. I think that all brands are always, it's kind of a thing where it says the broadcaster's sort of responsible for my business performing. So you've got to help me. You've got to be more predictive around what you think your audiences are going to be like. They've maybe tested previous types of content that might have worked for those digital first brands and said, okay, that type of content actually works, and they've got their own algorithms that they build in the background that says that's the type of content that works. It appeals to that particular target market. We know that it will possibly perform. And if it doesn't, they often have a compensation conversation with us as well.
Right.
So, the unfortunate thing of being to sit in a broadcast seat or in a media sales house is that if you want to keep customers for a longer period of time, you're in it for a long term in terms of partnership, looking at models that says if that didn't work, let's try this, etc. So you act fast, fail fast.
Compensation. Kate, are you doing this kind of thing?
Thankfully, it doesn't fall into my remit. No, I think, so we, with some of the digital native brands that we've worked with, we do have outcomes-based sort of partnerships with them, which often include a range of different types of airtime. And then, it is actually, it's a partnership, genuinely. So we get their data on a daily basis. We're looking at what we can optimize, with understanding what is the kind of key KPI and how can we track against that. So yes, when you have clients that are looking for a very short-term return, we make sure that we work with them in that way. I guess one of my bugbears, I think whoever rebranded direct response to performance did a brilliant job, but actually all TV is performance, right? Because it's a balance between efficiency and effectiveness. And so that's the kind of conversation that we're also trying to have with clients. And I think also the other thing we talk about a lot is triangulating data. So anybody who tries to take one measure or one particular sort of attribution methodology and say that's the only thing, inevitably you end up, missing stuff or sort of slightly overestimating one thing rather than another. So we will often recommend to clients that they look at, their share of branded search, that yes, if they want to use some kind of attribution mechanic, then fine, but actually let's also do some market mix modeling as well. So you look at a number of different data sources and try and figure out what TV is doing in that regard as well.
Paula,
just wanted to add on to that. I think from agency point of view and representing our advertisers, one of the things we struggle with is that we don't look at a campaign as just TV. We look at the whole piece. Yeah, and I think when we're trying to compare different media, and this is where I think TV has struggled over the last few years, is that we don't have the richness of data available in TV. We have certainly a richness of research, but not the richness of data, which are available through the paid social platforms and through the search platforms. And so often, because there's more richer data available, they appear better, but that's not necessarily the case. And this is where we got to last touch attribution a number of years ago, which sent a lot of people down the wrong route. And I think one of the struggles, which I don't put it down necessarily to only the broadcasters or only or any agencies to solve, is that we do lack a strong deterministic data set that's publicly available. So we have a data set in the UK which is roughly 5,000 homes. That's fine for research and measuring generally the big spots, but actually we want to try and get down to the sort of levels that we do for paid social and paid search. So bigger and better data is what we need. Now what's really encouraging, I think, is that there are a number of big data sets coming into the UK market. So you've got obviously Sky with their 500,000 household panel, but the likes of Xandr TV and Samsung TV who have their deterministic television set panels, which should be quite exciting. So hopefully that allows TV to act on the same, sort of on a level playing ground. When we are at agencies and we're planning, we're getting the richness of data on this side, and then we're still working on similar sort of data that we were working with 20 years ago. Yeah. And I think that's a big push that we're trying to push within the industry.
Talking of richness of data, I mean, Paula, in the States, through AT&T, obviously, there's Xandr, there's the Warner Media content, and there's all the AT&T data. Do you have anything you can talk about from the USA in terms of how they're getting, closing the loop and getting more data and improving the effectiveness of certain television stuff? Yeah, I guess that is exactly the key issue, right? Every marketer and therefore their agencies need to address the efficiency of every single dollar that was spent, and they need to know how it ties up to the KPIs. And we live in a world where there's more and more data available every day, but it's really hard to use it at scale in most of the areas of the business. So I couldn't give an example of how our clients are tracking performance because that would breach a handful of NDAs. And I wouldn't get allowed to go in a panel ever again. But yes, in our case, the ability to reach premium inventory with Warner Media, with DirecTV, with TV Now, in the US and other third-party partners that are joining in, and combine it with proprietary deterministic data that allows us to build an ID graph on household, user, and device, is the way our digital-first brands are starting to be more efficient at tracking performance. But at the same time, when we talk about tracking performance, we always think that's sales. And it isn't, because many campaigns have KPIs that are very different than that, and many brands
don't sell immediately. I mean, you guys sold 19 cars, which is
99.
99, sorry, 99.
99 cars.
99 cars, which is amazing, but usually the motor industry wouldn't expect a campaign to just sell a car, right? And like that, there are many other brands. So what it is performance and what it is to have a successful campaign, it's also very different, and we should also address that. It's just the ability to track it is necessary for if you're selling or if you just want people to remember your logo. You need to track if it has worked or not.
Can I come in on something, actually? I think one of the conversations that we're having a lot with digital native brands is about getting them to think about and build a model, not a literal model, but I guess a thought model or a thinking model about how their market works and how their brand works, in order to really understand where to look for the impact of not just TV, but kind of other channels as well. I think there's one case that I can't mention too much, but I think is in a market where, let's just say, trust and price premiums are really important. And I think what they were doing was looking at the impact of TV in terms of sales, and they couldn't really see it. But when they started to look harder, what they saw is that in regions where they're advertising on TV, they could sustain a much bigger price premium, and that was probably because what TV was doing was driving kind of trust and reassurance. And so I think for me, it's always about not just kind of measuring what you can, but measuring what matters. And to measure what matters, you've really got to understand how your brand works and how your market works, and do some quite hard thinking around that.
Talking of measuring, I guess the part of TV which is probably more measurable in the way that we're describing it here is probably the addressable side of it. And it's, it's a hot topic. People are talking about addressable, advanced television. I think it's fair to say that although it's a hot topic, spend is not perhaps at the levels where some of the broadcasters expected it to be. What do we think is holding back? Martin, if you work across a lot of these platforms, what's your thoughts around that?
Well, I think the reality is that addressable in the UK, as it currently is still quite siloed from the standard linear TV buy. So when you talk addressable, you could be talking Sky AdSmart, or you could be talking some of the data-driven TV that's coming through connected TVs at the moment. But the reality is, I can't look at my addressable campaign in line with my linear campaign at the moment. And linear still is the bulk of the money that we spend. There's different premiums between the two, and there's a huge visibility, albeit on a relatively small panel, as to who's watching my TV spots, and then there's less visibility on that addressable. We just know we hit a number. The nirvana would be to knit those two together, and then we can really start talking about what's the right volume of addressable that we need to do and the right volume of linear TV. At the moment, we're having to build models and we're having to essentially hack the planning across the two. And that's not a comfortable situation. It's something you might do at the beginning, but it's something that I've been sort of shouting about for a while, is that, and it links into the need for better, stronger data, more robust data. I think it would be really difficult to measure a addressable campaign on a 5,000 home panel. I think you just won't. You might get one or two people watching it. But as the numbers get bigger and bigger, I think that gives an opportunity. But then the reality is that these addressable pieces are all actually still in different places at the moment. So we need to knit it all together. So technology can hopefully allow us to do that. But we need everyone to come to the table and talk the same language. And I don't think we all are at the moment. I think we're tasked as an agency with doing not a buy, but a campaign across all media. And then we're having to apply all different techniques to sew it all together. So in answer to your question, I think we need less silos, more connectivity, and technology and data is what's going to drive that. And I think we need bigger data in TV. Hopefully it's coming.
I don't think anything is holding back. I don't think the brands are holding back. I just think it's a bit unfair to judge the European addressable TV market just yet, because when we think about the US, for example, every hour of TV, there are 16 minutes of advertising, of which 2 minutes are addressable. And that's across the entire market, and you can, with some tech partners, you can overlay data, and that is a market that has the reach and the capabilities to address a market at that size, and it has the numbers, and it has the standard approach across. When we look at Europe, every market is different. We are not the same. We have different legislations per country. We have different broadcasters. We have different attitudes towards it. So it's really, really hard at the moment to have the scale and the reach that allows you to judge the medium in a way that you can compare and say, why are brands holding back? I think they're ready, it's just the market needs to be a bit more solid. And we're seeing BritBox with ITV and the BBC and soon Channel 4. We see RTL and Praise 7. We see data alliances like Sigma happening, and all of this collaboration is great because it's the way broadcasters will compete with GAFA, and it's the way it would naturally move towards a more standard approach because more and more partners will want to work together. And as technology, our role is to provide that platform or infrastructure that allows all of these coalitions or partners or any data or technology partner of either the buyer or the seller to allow them all to work together. Like our role should be to create that infrastructure that allows us to have a very large addressable market that when a brand looks at it says, we've got to be there.
Okay, let's hear from the brand. So, Elena, have you worked in the world of addressable? If you have, what's good, what's bad? What would you do to spend more?
Yeah, then it depends on brand to brand. So the main problem for addressable at the moment for us is the price, because it's a premium price. So it makes sense if you're willing to identify an audience for which you're willing to pay a premium price. So in this case, it's perfect. So I think it's complementary to TV. It can reach a specific audience, and if this audience for you has a higher value, it makes sense. For our brand personally, we are very mass market brand. So it's hard to identify it, or it's even if we try it, but then it's harder to reach it or to get. So we are not automotive or a brand also that has huge margin and maybe they can pay more on it. So I think it really depends on the nature of the brand. So in our case, we try some of addressable TV, but I say, so the market is not mature yet. So it's early stages, it's difficult. There is not a lot of reach, and at this time, the price point for us personally was not. It was better to do normal TV.
Okay.
I feel like we're really missing out in Africa. If you said addressable is much more premium priced.
Yeah, you need to go up there.
I mean, I think we're a little bit far away from launching an addressable solution. Probably about 2 years out, simply because you don't have really good data across all countries in Africa. You've got to be able to build that out in order to offer some sort of addressability. We also have legacy systems within the broadcast inventory space, so you've got to make them digitally enabled in order to offer some kind of addressability as well. So we're a little bit away from it, but I'm excited about the prospect of charging higher prices.
Look, we're running low on time. I've got one more thing I wanted to cover off with you guys. So Binet Field released a study, and they talked about the fact, we've heard earlier on that the optimal split for most brands is 60-40 brand versus performance. Sorry, Kate. But for digital-first brands, they're suggesting it should be 74%, so 3/4 brand versus the rest performance. What do we think? Does that resonate with you guys? Kate, what's your thoughts?
I think, human beings are brilliant, aren't they, at knowing what they should do and then doing something really different. So we know we should eat 5 fruit and veg a day. Something like 80% of the population still don't. All those sorts of things. So I think it's quite hard, I think, for digital native brands that are very used to that mentality of measuring short-term returns. To look at that and to understand that and to follow that advice. So certainly what we see is people probably starting with a slightly more equal weighting, or indeed actually almost reversed, and then over time hopefully building towards that kind of ratio. So I think if you haven't read it, look around for the case studies about Habito, the online mortgage brand. They have a very, very interesting case study where they've sort of done exactly that. They now spend actually, I think, 100% of their TV spend on brand-led media. And the thing that enabled them to do that was creativity. So I think this is something that also people probably sort of don't talk about as much as they should. You can spend 75% of your budget on brand-led media if you've got a fantastically good ad to run in that space. If your ad is not good enough, frankly, then you're not going to get the returns that you need in order to be able to justify that weight. So I think you have to look at the two things hand in hand.
Elena, how are you mixing it up in this way?
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's hard for me to find a formula. So for me, there is not a perfect formula for all the brands. It depends also on the phase of brand. So there are some brands that are in a phase in which they want to grow and they wish to want to maximize some metrics, some financial metrics. There are some brands that look more on the long run. So I think it really depends also on the phase of the brand, on the kind of brand. So it's hard to say there is a measure that you should stick on it. And also about brand traffic. So it's what is a brand investment? Is a brand investment everything I'm doing upper funnel? So in this case, yes, so I'm talking upper funnel even with a more promotional message, but like also adding a creativity. I think it's, so the pure distinction, this is purely brand, so there is no call to action, there is no promotional message, and everything else, it's activation. I think for a digital first brand, it's hard. So it's hard to spend a quite huge amount of money without actually giving a strong reason to buy. So it really depends what people consider brands. But if you consider all the investment that you do upper funnel across all the media, so not just TV, but also digital, yes, it can make it closer.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think that I'll have to agree with Kate around this, that the creative has to also fit in the context of a particular environment. And we've seen really, really good success stories where brands are, able to sponsor particular spaces, which is completely brand building. There's no direct response linked to it. Yeah, it really makes that brand stand out in their category.
I mean, from a technology point of view, we need to serve both. We need to be the right technology for both branding and performance. The key thing, I guess, and the end goal is that a brand should be able to set their goals, be branding, be performance, and be able to apply them in a holistic manner across all media. If not, the more we silo the strategies from brand to performance, the more we silo from media to media, the less we're using one to influence the other. So what we're trying to do is to actually work more on everything should collaborate with each other and should work with each other.
Any brief thoughts on this, Martin? I wanted to
Brief.
Brief.
We've got 3
couple of minutes left. I think when we talk brand building, so I'm a TV buyer by trade, that's how I started. When we talk brand building, TV advertising and direct response advertising, it's often shorthand for buying the big spots that will give you mass reach and awareness, and the response stuff is a lot of the smaller spots that drive performance. And I agree, I think rebranding DR's performance is just a genius move that agencies and media owners have done over the years. But the reality is we've done this for years. I think you can measure a lot better when you're doing a performance campaign and you've got some sort of call to action, whether that's some sort of, if you're a car advertiser trying to book test drives, for example, that's a real call to action. But you're not going to book that test drive if you haven't got this brand piece before. So as to the actual numbers, I couldn't, it will be different for each brand. Yeah. But what we should be striving to do is to get better evaluation of that brand building side and the performance side, rather than have a really, really granular level of analysis on the performance piece, and then the brand piece is a bit more sort of research-based, a bit more holistic. I think the opportunity is to do more in this brand building side and to then compare it and evaluate it better, and you might find that it goes a bit more brand building, and we might get more. I actually think we're going to go into a world where, as we become more addressable, where the bigger spots on TV are going to become even more important for brands. Yeah. You see it in America with the Super Bowl. Yeah. I think that's what's going to happen. We'll have a billboard sort of set of spots that everyone will strive to get in, which will be opportunities for our media partners to shove the prices up.
Yes, good news, Kate.
But that's where I think we're going to go, and then the rest of it will become more addressable, maybe more sort of performance based, but they serve each other. Is the reality.
We were discussing before we came on, Fahmeeda was saying how kind of reserved the audiences are in the UK compared to Africa, so I'm hoping we can prove her wrong, and if there's any questions from the audience, fire away. Come on, guys, this is nothing like a Nigerian audience, apparently.
Yeah, that's Dawn.
Anybody? Okay. In which case, we'll wrap up. I've got just one brief response from all of you guys. If you had to kind of look at a trend that's happening in TV right now, what would you like to see continuing in the future? Martin?
I'd like to see the continued evolution of our broadcast partners, and I'd love to see more collaboration between them so that we get a more unified solution for our advertising partners.
Yeah, I think simplification is the key, and that happens with collaboration, with regulation, which we all love, and with standardization. So the easier we make it for the buyers to reach the right audiences, the better we'll do.
I'd like to see people continuing to watch TV across any platform.
Brilliant.
I have to agree with Paula. So, I mean, if we could buy TV in the same way we could buy online in the same easy way across market, that would be great.
Okay, so I'm going to go for, I'd like to see a growing sophisticated understanding of the link between what you spend and how you spend it in terms of creativity. So a proper recognition and growing collaboration between those two sides of the effectiveness equation.
Great. Thank you, guys. If I could ask the audience to thank the panel for a great session.